So me personally, I'll never have another job again, but I will always have multiple streams of income.
What's going on, bosses? My name is Kat.
And I'm Josiah.
And this is Boss Up With Us,
the channel that's all about personal development, finance, and entrepreneurship for individuals, groups, and couples like ourselves.
So before we jump into today's episode, make sure that you guys click subscribe below and turn your notifications on so that you can get notified every Wednesday at 7 p.m. when we drop a new episode as part of our midweek motivation series.
On today's episode, we're going to be explaining why having multiple streams of income is not an option but a necessity based off of the things that we learned during quarantine.
So we'll be explaining what a stream of income is and the recommended number that you should have, what quarantine taught us about having multiple streams of income, and lastly, why we all need multiple streams of income. Yeah, that sounds good. Why we all need. Okay, I'm ready. So first things first, we want to jump into our midweek wrap up, and I'm going to let Josiah go ahead and start that off.
Well, with all of the protesting and the uprising and the fact that we're still slowly coming out of quarantine, this was a relatively slow week for business for us. Sales for our online reselling business were kind of down. My vending machine company hit a few roadblocks in our quest to find our next location. Also, with my party planning business that I have with my friends, we haven't been able to throw any parties during this time either. And because of the fact that I haven't really been able to travel to view properties, I haven't been doing much real estate investing. But on the brighter side, my investment portfolio, although it's not that large, did see about a 50% return on investment. So that was kind of dope.
And for me, I was finally able to secure a fieldwork site for my master's program. If you guys are not really familiar with what the fieldwork is, it's kind of like a prerequisite for my capstone, which is your big final project before you can graduate with your master's. Through all of the hiccups with quarantine and having a site and then losing it last minute, I was actually able to secure something, and I'll be working on a mental health campaign with the university that I go to. So I'm really excited and I'm looking forward to completing that.
It's lit.
All right, so let's get into today's episode.
So what is a stream of income and what is the recommended number of streams that we should have? Plain and simple, a stream of income is a way that you get money, be it your job, be it your business, be it your investment. The general consensus for the recommended number of streams that we all should have individually is 7. A lot of people have more than 7, but unfortunately the vast majority of us have less than 7. Basically, they say the number 7 because the idea is that we should have a diversified number of ways in which we're collecting income, so that if one income stream is cut off abruptly, like a person losing their job or their investment losing a ton of value, they have another stream to basically take care of their life expenses and to take care of themselves and to take care of their family. So if you lose one, you'll still be covered with the other ones. Too often people get obsessed with the idea of going to school and getting a job and that being the end all be all. We become obsessed with the amount of money that we're making in our annual salaries. But the reality is we're supposed to have other streams that are sufficing. So if you're only making $50,000 a year, doing whatever it is that you do, you can still be making an additional $50,000 or an additional $25,000 or an additional $100,000 within your businesses and with your investments.
So secondly, what did quarantine teach us about having multiple streams of income? So as we've all seen, a lot of people have lost their jobs due to quarantine, and you might be one of them. I've had friends that lost their jobs within the first 2 weeks of when the pandemic hit its peak. I've had friends that worked throughout the bulk of it, and last week they lost their jobs. At any point in time, your main source of income, your traditional 9-to-5 job, can be taken away from you. The most important lesson that we've learned from quarantine is that at any point in time, your main job can be taken away from you.
Your main job, your main source of income, whatever it is. A lot of companies are now being forced to become a little more creative, a little more innovative with their structure. A lot of people are working at home. A lot of people are now expendable because with quarantine coming into effect, these jobs are seeing that the jobs that they had lined up for people that they may have been doing and paying these people for, those jobs are no longer necessarily needed.
Right, so working, in a traditional office setting or whatever duties they were doing, it doesn't really convert to working remotely.
Now, if you work an office job, you should be very concerned because even if you maintained your job through the pandemic, through quarantine, there's a strong possibility that the company that you work for is going to be looking to make some changes down the line. We haven't even seen all of the effects that this crisis has had on the economy. So I said that companies have been forced to become a lot more creative and innovative, but also all of us individuals, all of us human beings, we've also been forced to be a little more creative, a little more innovative in the things that we're doing on our day to day. A lot of people spent this time focusing on leisure activities, catching up and watching Netflix shows,
resting, relaxing.
Enjoying time with their family and their friends. No, not with their friends.
Well, definitely not with your friends. Because you're supposed to be on quarantine.
Yeah. A lot of these people spent this time enjoying their family.
Just being at home.
Yeah. Just being at home, enjoying their loved ones. So while that's okay and while that's cool and all, there's a strong possibility that you put yourself at a disservice if you weren't focusing your creativity and your innovation towards developing a new stream of income or new streams of income. But one of the things that I learned from being an entrepreneur is that when you have time, your mind is able to be at its most creative. Might be in your room or just in the house or just taking a drive by yourself. So while me and Kat also spent some of this time doing a lot of leisure activities, we also put our minds together and got creative and got innovative and said, hey, maybe we should start this business. Maybe we should start doing that. Maybe we should pick up this new skill. I started reading a lot of different books during this time. It gave us a chance to have those conversations about what we're going to do to make sure that we have those multiple streams so that we can be in a better place going forward.
And lastly, we're going to explain why we all need multiple streams of income.
Now, while I was already hip to these things prior to the pandemic, because obviously I made the choice to leave my job before everything started to hit, the idea of having multiple streams of income is basically us saying, don't have all of your eggs in one basket, because you just never know. And the best way to take care of yourself is to make sure that you have all bases covered. Even with all of the businesses that I have, with all of the investments that I have, I'm still constantly trying to add new streams of income. I actually plan out ways in which I plan to expand and start new businesses or create new streams out of the current streams that I have long term. So me personally, I'll never have another job again, but I will always have multiple streams of income.
So at the beginning of 2020, Josiah and I had a lot of conversations about different business ventures that we wanted to get into. And we talked about YouTube, we talked about our online reselling business. And when the pandemic really hit and we saw the impact that it was having on the economy, we realized that it was time for us to take those things that we were talking about and put it into action. That is why we are here now with our YouTube channel. We have increased the amount of money that we spend on inventory for our online reselling business. It kind of just lit the fire underneath us that we need to have these multiple streams of income and the importance of having them.
So that pretty much wraps up this week's episode. We've explained to you what multiple streams of income means, what quarantine taught us about having multiple streams of income, and why we all need multiple streams of income. Now, this is a 2-part episode. Next week, we will be expanding more on these ideas.
So if you guys haven't already, make sure you click subscribe below, give us a thumbs up, leave us some comments letting us know what are your multiple streams of income, what are your thoughts on having multiple streams of income, and what quarantine taught you about having multiple streams of income. And until next week, keep growing, keep glowing, and keep bossing up, you guys. We'll see you next week.